All right, here we are again, the Holistic Living Fair here at Peterson Holistic Services. If you haven't shown up, come on out. We've got a few more hours left. I'm here with one of our authors on site, Bruce Koerber, an economist here, and he's got the divine economy theory. Is that what it's called?
That's what it's called.
Yeah, and so he's here talking about the divine economy theory. Has some great resources for that. So Bruce, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about the divine economy theory.
Okay. Well, I'm an economist in the classical liberalism tradition. I'm an Austrian economist, and in the year 2004, I had a dream at night. It woke me up, and I wrote it down in the dark. And in the morning, I knew what I had dreamt that night. And when I looked at it, I knew it was a significant contribution to economics.
Oh, wow.
So then I just started putting my technical training as an economist, applying it towards that model, and I just continued, or that image, and I just continued to develop that deductively. And so the first book that I wrote was, I didn't have in my mind that I was going to write numerous books. I just knew that I had found something important.
Right.
So I developed that, and it turned out it was a book about macroeconomics.
Okay.
And then when I was finished with that, I recognized that I could go inside, deeper inside that model, the macro model, to look at the microeconomics.
Okay.
So then I delved into that, and I basically wrote a book about microeconomics. And then there were other features of that image. One was a vertical feature, which was the human spirit and transformation. And that was the ethical strand. So then I wrote the book about ethical economics, still based on that same model.
Right.
And then the last feature of that model that was in the image was law and order. And that was the economic justice aspect of economics. So I wrote a book about that. So I have 4 books. The 4 core books of the divine economy theory are More Than Laissez-Faire. That's the original. That's the macroeconomics book. And then the microeconomics book is called The Human Essence of Economics. And then the ethical economics book is called Ethical Economics for Today and Tomorrow. And then the final book of those 4 is called Liberty and Justice of Economic Equilibrium. And that's the book about economic justice. So that's the 4 core books that basically constitute the divine economy theory.
Right.
I haven't told you much about the divine economy
Yeah,
theory.
yeah.
So I'm going to go kind of back, okay, in terms of science,
Okay.
in terms of natural law. One of the characteristics of the way science approaches things and the way it approached economics was recognizing that humans are physical. They're unique physically. They're not an animal. They're not a stone. They're a human. They're uniquely human by their physical characteristics.
Right.
And then there's also another distinction of humans in this ontology of humans, and that is that they're intellectual. And that's all the further science within the economics realm, and I think in a lot of aspects of science have only gone that far. They don't really recognize that humans are also spiritual. Okay, and so that's what the divine economy theory gives you economics in a different way, because it recognizes, and so it's cutting edge science, because it's accepting that new aspect of natural law. Okay. That humans are physical, intellectual, and spiritual. Right. And when you add that element into the theory, it looks quite different than when you don't allow that. And then also the implications of what that looks like in the real world when you now allow the spiritual aspect of humans to be in. How do you design, or how do you understand economics with that? Because when you don't allow the spiritual, there's the tendency, when you're just looking at it intellectually, to try to manipulate it. Whereas when you allow the spiritual part, then you want to create an atmosphere where humans can be who they are, be creative, be productive, and rather than trying to force them to be creative or productive. You recognize that they are that way naturally anyway, so get out of the way and allow them to work. cooperate together.
Yeah, so it's allowing people to bring their spirit and their personality into play, and not just have to follow a linear path.
Right.
Is that right?
And it's basically self-directed.
Right.
Here's one thing, an example. Okay, in Austrian economics and classical liberalism, and also in the divine economy theory, the entrepreneur is really a key element, because what they're alert to things that are going on, and then they try to make that available. If there's something not available, they see that people want it, they make it for them. But here's the spiritual element to it. Human beings, by their nature, they're seekers after truth. They're looking for truth, and so the entrepreneur basically is the entrepreneurial spirit is what drives the economy.
Wow.
People are looking for things that make their lives and the lives of those around them better.
Right. No, that's great. That's great. I love that, to really bring that acknowledgement that it's a spiritual endeavor, and then it really is about what can I provide you to help you along the way. And that really is. I love how that capturing of the entrepreneurial spirit.
Because from the old view, then it looks like the entrepreneur is selfish.
Right.
But really, he's the entrepreneur. He or she is actually the opposite of selfish, because they're doing it that benefits everyone. They're just the unique thing about them is that they are exercising the capacity of seeking for truth and finding it. Okay, so they're alert. They find this, and then when they implement it, they take action to it. It improves the lives of everybody.
Right. Yeah, it just gives
and so it uplifts mankind. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So it becomes more than a dollar endeavor.
Yeah.
And more of a kind of serving your community, serving your fellow person.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that aspect. I love that someone is bringing that spirit really to that economic piece, because we get so mired in all of the ups and downs of the markets and things like that, things that we don't have any control over, and then how do we bring ourselves into that and affect a positive change and find some security.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think my point that I'd like to make is we're actually living in the dark ages of economics, because right now people think what you're talking about, the ups and downs, and all, that's economics, and that has nothing to do with economics.
Okay.
So that's why we want to get out of that age. We want to move into a more enlightened way of looking at economics, and the divine economy theory is a really good way to find that out.
That's great. So it's enlightened economics.
Yeah, and it's comprehensive too, because most economics, they don't ever go into the ethics. They don't ever go into economic justice. They just go micro and macro.
Right.
And this it's basically reorients macro and micro, and then which also is because of its design, it actually allows economics to go beyond that into ethics and economic justice.
And that's good, because a lot of times you hear, it tends to be more conservative people. They have very harsh judgments on social aspects, but give a lot of leeway to whatever you need to do to make a dollar. And so it brings that kind of social piece and that social ethical piece on what is the right way to make a dollar, and what betters our communities, what betters our societies, rather than just serving your shareholders or serving your pocketbook. So that's great. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad for that. And I think something that you shared with me is that you're a horticulturist as well.
I am a horticulturist.
Yeah.
I was actually studying horticulture when I met a professor who told me to study economics, and I was lucky that where I was studying economics, they had Austrian economics.
Right.
And that's what taught me that different methodology that they use, which is what all this uses that methodology, subjective methodology.
I think that background in life sciences, I think, helps you bring that kind of full circle and really apply it to us and to the dynamic nature of nature.
Really, and
bring it back
in fact, my books, there's a narrative around which each book, the content, economic content is surrounded by a narrative. Like this first book, it's very organic, because it starts like, it shows like a tree, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it looks at the leaves, which are the principles, and the roots of the tree, you know, it puts it in that context. And then at the end, getting that information out is like the seeds. You know, when a tree produces a seed, the good thing about it can travel anywhere. It can go anywhere. So that's one of the things, you know, that's the organic story, that narrative that this book is within. And then at the end, the seed, which is, okay, this book, that's a seed, I pass it around. It can be planted anywhere and take growth and end up being shelter, providing shelter and food for anyone, anywhere.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for being with us today. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank
you.
So
check it out.
For having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great conversations today.
Thank you so much.
So check it out. Bruce Koerber and the Divine Economy Theory, Enlightened Economics. Check it out. Let us know what you think. We'll be back.
Oh, that's great.